Chris here. I'll mute the game. It's a commercial anyway. Okay, this is the start of part 5, I believe. And I went ahead and I filled in the top of this. And as you can see, some of those are sitting a little high, which normally I would take some time and sand everything perfectly flush. But since this is going to be underneath a piece of plywood and a padded top, it's not really that big a deal. Those boards are there more just for a little added structure. So it's time now to cut the top of this box off, because it's going to be hinged on the back and have the draw catches. The way I'm going to do that is on the table saw here. I'll run it on its side and cut it off with that. I won't do it all in one pass. In fact, I'll probably do 2 passes and then finish it up with a handsaw, a very fine tooth handsaw. Otherwise, I'm afraid it's going to pinch, and if it pinches, it's going to be bad. I have the blue tape on here just to try and help reduce tear out, and then to make it so it's not tipped, I went ahead and put some on the bottom as well. I'm going to turn the camera off because I'm going to be paying attention to this saw. Back hopefully with a perfectly cut off lid. Okay, quick update here. While we're waiting for overtime to start in a football game, what I did is I actually made 3 passes, got it most of the way through. See, I got it that far through, so I'll finish up that last little bit with this flush cut saw. You can see it says this side up. So what I'll do is I'll run that along this edge so it cuts like that, and then turn it over and clean that up, or I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I will figure it out. But the reason I don't want to just go ahead and cut through all of it is with this long a thing, if that closes up on the blade, it could kick back, it could gouge the workpiece, and I don't want that. I want this just to be perfect, and so far so good. So this went pretty well, and you know, the fear with doing this is that some of it is not going to line up, and as you can see, it is lining up. There's just one corner here. As you can see, there is maybe a 30-second there, but that's easily sanded out after I get everything cut off, and that lid should just fit straight down and match right up. Okay, back to watch overtime and cut on this thing. Seattle pulled it out. Okay, I started out with this saw, and my problem was it kept getting a little bit off kilter. So what I did is I went to just multiple passes with the utility knife, and now we have a removed box lid, and you see we have that little lip there in places, but that is easy enough to trim off and make so this fits just perfectly. So we are making progress, and that lid will sit on there. Full-length piano hinge across the back, and just open like that, smooth as snot. And now we can get on to cleaning this up, put the bottom on, put the panels in, then get to work on those uprights. Yeehaw! Moving right along. Quick check in on the lid. We have a nice lid that will go back. I cleaned this one up with the utility knife and the saw. You can see I think I got off with the saw right there, so I'm going to have to put some glue in there and kind of do that, which I'm a little bit disappointed in, but such is life. I've been putting off this step because I was a little bit scared of it, and I think I found out why. But this side I cleaned up with the utility knife, just getting it close but not trying to get it exactly flush, and then finishing with flush with the sander. And I think come next time that's what I'm going to do for the whole thing. But anyway, I'm ready to take this tape off and maybe get to attaching the bottom. But we have a lid that fits well. Put a piano hinge on the back, the two drawer catches on the front, and that's solid. And away we go. Tape off, and as you can see, it's the lid is off and all cleaned up. But we do have a problem. When it is lined up, we have a gap, which means that one of these two is not square. And I've determined that the top is square. It's the base that isn't. So one thing I did after cutting off the pardon while the local fire department goes by out back, was to put on the bottom slats, which give it lots of good structure down there, and plywood paneling will be on top, but it also raises it up what I want. But what I'm thinking is, in putting those on, I pulled this bottom out of square. So I'm going to take those off, thankful that I did not use glue, and see if I can pull this thing back into square and figure out how to keep it that way. I'll report back. Okay, here we are. As you can see, I have this piece of shelf stock that my grandfather actually salvaged from a grocery store that was going out of business. And I have been using it here and there on different projects. Anyway, it gives me a nice straight edge. And I've clamped this tall piece here at a right angle. And you can see with our box up against that and flush here, we have about a 1/16 of an inch. I took off the bottom boards and it went from about an 1/8 of an inch out of square to about a 1/16. So what I need to do, what I'm hoping to do, is pull it back into square with this thing and then reattach the bottom boards, quite possibly turning them over so that we're not going into the same holes that would then take it back out of square. Or I could just use this side on this side, which would be giving new holes there, and the way those are lined up, be moving them over. So I may do that just so I don't have holes in the bottom, but we shall see on that. But I thought I'd show you the method I'm trying here to pull this thing back into square. So what we need to do is get this edge pulled tight back against here while maintaining that. So I just put a quick grip clamp holding this against the fence like that, which, oh, it worked before because I didn't have the bottom in there, but this, there isn't enough length in that jaw because I put this bottom in there to try to also help hold it square, which really isn't doing anything because it has enough slop in it that it's not going to hold it square because I cut it down to fit in there, not knowing that it was out of square. So we'll just take that out. Put this clamp down here, hold it in tight to the fence. We're tight there. And then just use this clamp to draw it into square, which, as you can see, it does a good job of that. So now, with this in square, hopefully that's the top, which is actually what we're worried about, but we're hoping the bottom will hold the top. So pardon my mess here. We'll see if that pulled the bottom into square, and it is much closer than it was. It is pretty close, if not right on. It's still off a little, as you can see there. But so the plan is to put on, we'll put on one board, take it out of the clamp and see if that does anything. But I think that is a job for after dinner. That's the thing with working after work, is I'm already running out of gas. But leaving that, holding it square, is not a bad thing to get it kind of started moving that way. I'll be back. For last time. Anyway, I built this little fixture to just hold things squares, and the lid was still off from the base. So as I think I covered, we took the bottom off, tried to figure it out, but the bottom was actually square. It was the top where it meets with the lid that wasn't quite. So what I did is I shimmed this out just the width of my steel rule, and now you can see everything is pretty darn close. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and connect the bottom again, which hopefully will hold it in this orientation, and go from there. And if it winds up pulling off a little bit, I will just live with it and deal with it so that I can move on. Back soon. Well, I guess I just chalked this one up under lessons learned and moved on. When I was assembling the box, I did keep assembling the frames into the box. Kept checking the bottom for square. Didn't necessarily check the top. I just checked to make sure things were flush. And if everything was cut exactly the same, it should have translated. And for the most part it did. But after all that monkeying, I'm still off a 1/16 out of square. If my back two corners are perfectly lined up, I'm off by that much. Which I think what I'll wind up doing is just sliding it down this way a little bit so that both the back and the front are off by half of that. And then after I get the hinge and catches on, maybe see if I can lessen the visual effect with the sander or something, I'm not sure. Although I was debating whether or not to put the hinges on and catches on before the finish, because I'd have to take them back off to do the finish. So anyway, that's kind of where that is. I don't quite know what I'm going to do with that, and putting the boards back on a different way without having them clamped completely flat, because there's some cup and bow in them. Now the box rocks a little bit, which, I mean, it is what it is. So not totally happy, but I'm going to move on just because I don't know what else to do here, and I don't want to take it apart again because it didn't seem to have a whole lot of effect. Even clamping the bottom skewed, which was holding the top in, putting the floor back in, which should have held it in that orientation, obviously didn't fully. I mean, it helped, you know, that's less than it was, but not by enough. Okay, I'm moving on. Time for a segment. Got kind of frustrated with the box when it still wasn't perfect, which, you know, it is what it is. Then I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and finish off the box, put in the plywood panels, and the way I'd planned to do that was with glue and brads. But the shortest brads I have are 1 inch, and considering my material is 3/4 of an inch and a little less than 1/4 of an inch, the brads would be poking through. So I set that aside. I'm working on the uprights. So I'm working now on where to position the rifle rest. And as you can see, I'll lift off the hat cam. If I have it right there, that's too close to the bead on the shotgun. So what I was thinking is if I build that out, then it's not quite as close, but I think it will still sit okay. But I think I'm going to lower that cross member, about 1/2 inch. And I'll probably go with something wider than that. That's just a piece of scrap I've clamped in there. But we'll have to see how that goes. Because, you know, I want it to be functional and pretty. Pardon my sidestep in here. Give you a look from the other side. And I think it'll be fine. The problem with putting that too much lower is it's going to really diminish the amount of width I can have on it, because when those pieces fold down, you know, they'll come down farther than the front of the tray here, but I want that rifle rest to be in front of the tray so that it can sit all the way down. So we're going to have to kind of work on that. And, you know, if I had it way lower, I could have it nest in here, but what I'm hoping is with it folded down, you'll be able to set the gearbox back in there and just make it a little bit more compact for transporting. Anyway, so yeah, so what I need to do now is work on these uprights. Final thickness is going to be, these are about 6 now, I'm going to take it down to 5. I think what I'll wind up doing is bringing it up to maybe here, and then just putting a slight taper on it, taper it back to 4.5, just to lose a little bit of weight, but I'll take it down to 5 and then see what I think. And then there will be a cross piece here that meets solidly with this, which provides a bearing surface when you tip it back. There'll be 2 of the draw catches right here to hold it in place, and hopefully you can see that, but I'm going to get back to work and see what I can figure out. Okay, back soon. So what I did is I did my measurements for where exactly to put the rifle rack there, and where to put, there'll be another support between the 2 uprights here, and then the one back here that when it's upright will lock against this with the 2 draw catches. So I did that. I kind of did my measurements on how wide I want these to be. The sides will actually have a nylon washer in between there and there, so that as the wood moves a little bit, there will be a little bit of slop, not too much, for it to rotate up and down. So, and I have my cut list made up of what I need, kind of what I want to do. I'll build up that rifle rack and kind of go from there. And these uprights hopefully will be done this afternoon, and figure out the push bar, and we're making progress. But for now I'm going to break for lunch, but thought I'd give you a quick update, and back soon. Probably do a quick segment. Here's basically what the uprights are going to look like. Everything will be equally spaced. This will butt up against the tray. Axle goes through there, just reinforcing. This is built out to so it works the way I want. Threw a round over on all these. Nice little walnut pieces. They should come out nice. Probably line each of the U's just short of the round over up in probably the same carpet that I used in the tray. And then the push bar will mount in these sections here and go back that way. Still have to work how to do that. And thought I had a dowel there. Anyway, what I'll probably do is across here, the reason I brought those outside ones out is I'll cut a slot down in one and have a hole in the other, so you can have a dowel running across there to keep things from bouncing out. So that's kind of where we are at the moment. I see my dowel now, so not that it matters, but we are getting there. Depending on how much steam I have tonight after dinner, I may come out and try to get some of this put together, but we're getting there at any rate. And I may wrap up section 5 here. I may go put this together, see how long we are. So if this is the end of episode 5 of the Epic Gun Cart Build, then I hope you join us for episode 6, where we'll be finishing this thing off. But then I've been saying that the last 3 episodes. So, but slowly but surely, it's getting done. Hope to see you down the trail. Until then, watch your top now. January in Colorado. Can you see my breath?